The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. This is Sharon Ryan in the Alumni Office at William Patterson University, and I want to welcome you to our webinar today on long-term care, what you need to know, presented by WP alumnus Saul Simon. He's class of 1984. Before I introduce our presenter, I want to go over how the webinar works if you haven't attended our previous webinars. First of all, you should be able to see the presentation on your screen right now. It says agenda. You should also be able to hear me speaking on your computer's audio system. Please feel free. You have a little dashboard. You can ask questions by typing them in, and we will answer the questions. We'll monitor them. We may interrupt the presentation or we will answer them at the end. If there's any questions that are not answered in today's webinar, you can, at the end, you will get a survey and you can type your questions there and they will be sent to the presenter so he can address them there. So now I would like to introduce today's speaker. Saul Simon has been a frequent webinar presenter for us here at WP, and if you've ever attended one of his webinars, you know that he knows what he's talking about. Saul has presented webinars and seminars on financial planning, estate planning, and a variety of other topics. And today, he is presenting this webinar on long-term care, which is a very hot button issue right now. So Saul is a William Patterson alumnus. He has been a certified financial planner practitioner for over 20 years, and he is the owner of Simon Financial Group. Saul specializes in working with individuals and business owners to develop strategic financial plans that help them reach their financial and family objectives. Saul believes that the more you know, the better your finances will be. So he sponsors lectures on financial planning for corporations, adult educational programs, and community organizations. Saul also hosts a TV show called Simon Says Manage Your Money and has appeared as a guest on CNBC, Fox Business, and Steve Adubato, Caucus, New Jersey, and One on One. And now I would like to introduce Saul Simon presenting Long-Term Care, What You Need to Know. Saul?
Thank you, thank you, Sharon. Good afternoon, everyone. So, as we're getting older, from my experience, and I've been doing this financial planning, retirement estate planning for 34 years, and what I find is that there is a very large gap in the financial plan of long-term care missing. I wouldn't be surprised if many of you on the call has had an experience of a loved one, family member, friend in need of or experiencing long-term care benefits. The costs are prohibitive. The watching of the individual as they and we age, frankly, is confronting. And I'm the oldest of four boys, and my own parents are in an assisted living facility, and I personally am experiencing this as we speak. So I'm going to do my best to keep it brief, yet also touch upon certain subjects that I want you to be aware of. Every financial plan is different. Every situation is different. And should you want to take advantage of the invitation, which you can accept or not, is to feel free to call, ask me questions, and let's see if we can tailor something that meets your family's needs. So here's our agenda today. There's 4 myths about long-term care expenses, the impact of caregiving, the benefits of early planning. How do you do this? How do you plan? What are my funding options to consider? And then I put down some solutions which we'll go over. So long-term care insurance, like what is it? So long-term care provides needed assistance with the activities of daily living. So these are the basics. It's called eating or bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, incontinence. Unfortunately, my own dad is in the memory care community and has dementia, and certainly satisfies more than 2 of these 6 qualifications in order for a benefit to trigger. Long-term care is more than nursing home care. So years ago, people have an interpretation that long-term care is only applicable if I go into a nursing home. The truth is, if and when I need assistance with 2 of 6 or more of these characteristics, can I feed myself? Can I bathe? Can I toilet? Can I transfer? Based on your doctor saying so. The truth is, you're going to bring someone into your house for as long as it's possible to help take care of a family member. And frankly, if you think about, we often think of, possibly not to be sexist, a woman helping out. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm a 200-pound man. I don't know how many women can actually pick me up and help, transfer or help toilet or help bathe an individual. So what you see is men actually coming into this space because we need a stronger individual to be able to physically care for individuals who, are, in my example, 200 pounds. So there's other choices besides nursing home. We could be adult daycare services. There could be a memory care community, residential care communities, and then home care. There's also statistics that discuss how long will someone actually need this care. And those statistics are based on nursing home care, not necessarily us living in our home for as long as physically possible. I have clients that are experiencing $8,000, $16,000 for a couple, paying for assistance in an assisted living facility. I don't know how hard you worked, and I don't know how much you've accumulated, but spending $90,000, $100,000 a year is going to burn through your money, your net worth, very quickly. And what I'm ultimately going to propose, and I just started doing some of these financial end-of-life workshops, forgive me for saying it in that manner, but it's how can I protect this long-term care gap with the opportunity, if I need the protection, I have a pool of money. If I don't need the protection, upon my death, I at least am getting my money back and my estate is receiving the monies. So here's a misconception about the risk of long-term care. Number one, it won't happen to me. Americans believe the risk is greater for someone else in their family. 33% think they will need care. 40% believe their spouse will need care, and 50% assume their parents will. I've got a lot of my peers, I'm 58, and a lot of my peers, and I don't know who's on the webinar today, but I would bet a lot of your parents, or aunts, uncles, etc., are alive, and there could be planning opportunities for you and your siblings and your loved ones to plan accordingly to protect the net worth of the family. Misconception number 2, Medicare and Medicaid have me covered. So you go on Medicare after age 65, Medicaid will help pay for the long-term care, and this is a myth. So 65% of Americans actually surveyed believe that Medicare and health insurance will pay for professional long-term care, and folks, unfortunately, that's not accurate. Misconception number 3, well, that's what my savings are for. So Americans surveyed estimate the cost of $54,000 for a private room in a nursing home. And the truth is, and this is on a national average, folks, this is not in the Northeast corridor called New York, New Jersey, where the cost could be $10,000 or $12,000 a month, which is certainly about $120,000 in this neighborhood in which we live, most of us. So the cost is actually double. And again, because I've been in business so long, many of the clients that I acquired over the years, they're aging now. And I'm experiencing and watching this firsthand, as I'm sure some of you are seeing these issues with your own friends and family. Number 4, my family will take care of me. Families should be aware of the physical, emotional, and financial risks of providing care while juggling work, maintaining family responsibility. So here's some statistics. You could read them. I don't need to read them to you. But the percentages are very high that, you know, again, I'm just coming from my own personal experience. You have parents that have been together, married, maybe sleeping in the same bed for 55 or 60 years. And all of a sudden, they're no longer going to be sharing a bed because they're entering an assisted living facility, and it's not in their best interest to actually be sharing a room. Number 1. Number 2, that's a big transition. The second is the financial aspect. Coming up with the money to pay for this expense, or planning accordingly so that if in fact, hopefully we have 2 or 3 years of money to pay a facility so that we now, quote, qualify to stay in that facility upon our, I'm not going to use the word bankruptcy, but after spending all our money, that we actually get to stay in the same facility and now go on Medicaid and have the government pay for our care. And in addition to the expenses I'm speaking about, of say $75,000 or $8,000 a person, that's not including prescriptions. So as we're aging, you know, and I know, we're taking medications, and that's an extra expense. If you think about an individual, that a person that's taking care of, say, a married couple, and one individual is in need of care, it's not going to take long for the healthy spouse to actually have a medical issue, because as this person's taking care of the person that needs help, it's becoming taxing. And it's hard to take care of thyself when taking care of someone else before thyself. And what ends up happening is the healthy spouse ends up needing assistance and or has a problem to cause the family to make a decision to say something has to change. So we need to plan for long-term care to ensure your quality of care, to maintain your dignity, and to protect your financial security. So when I have conversations with people, they don't want to be a burden to their children. They don't want to cause an issue with their spouse, which frankly, you know, I really do have the same feelings. and I'm just being authentic here. I don't want someone toileting me. I don't want someone, bathing me in the context of my family or my spouse. I would like to be able to hire someone that I can trust, but also put them as an employee to take care of me so that I can continue to maintain my dignity with my spouse and or my children, and not have it be such an emotional or difficult transition. So we need to plan before someone is in need of care. 91% of Americans believe long-term care is an important component of their retirement and financial plan. And on average, advisors agree that it's a good idea to begin these long-term care discussions at the age of 50. There has been changes in products, and with modernization and with new features, characteristics, insurance companies are realizing that they need to provide this product to the public, and they're creating more creative and affordable methods of being able to purchase this coverage to protect the gap called long-term care. So, it starts a conversation. I've always been someone, like my book, Simon Says, Love Your Legacy, A Guide to Financial Education for You and Your Family, was written as a stepping stone to create the conversation with loved ones, because selfishly, I'm being very straight, I never want to look at my mom and dad, ask them a question, to serve them, to love them, and provide for them, and they can't answer me back. So these conversations could be difficult. So I highly suggest that you blame this conversation on me to start the discussion with your loved ones, saying, I attended this workshop and there was some value there, and I think I need to ask you some questions like, who is the executor, or who is the trustee, or do you have long-term care in your financial and retirement plan, so that you as an individual, I'm not looking for you to be in control. I'm just looking for you to be your loved one's partner in being able to fulfill wishes and satisfy their wants, their needs, their objectives, because you can't read someone's mind. So Americans are reluctant to talk with family and friends who actually would provide this care. 52% of spouses talk to each other about this. Parents, it's 35%. Children, 29%. Friends, 22%. So I really invite you to create a loving conversation to be able to provide their wishes. But in order to provide their wishes, you need to know what it is they desire. And you want to confirm that you're all on the same page. And again, I was at a family barbecue 2 weeks ago, and we actually, including myself, started talking about, do we want to be buried or do we want to be cremated? And it was an amazing conversation to hear input from men and women ages 85 down to, say, age 17. It was like an epiphany to see everybody engaged and discussing their thoughts, their feelings as to what it is they want and how they feel about things. So you may need the support of a professional caregiver. 72% of parents and children think they would not be able to provide adequate care if someone in their family needed it. 63% of family givers say that long-term care insurance would have made their caregiving role easier. So, I've done a couple of these workshops over the past few years, a number of them, and I've touched upon, and I'm not being sexist, I'm just being straight, that women tend to have a more difficult time saving for retirement or being prepared for retirement, because women, when a need arises, it's the woman, it's the spouse, it's the daughter that's stepping up, possibly leaving employment to help family members, let alone the fact that the woman is birthing a child and then leaving the workplace for some amount of time. And every time I'm out of my work environment, my workspace, I'm not receiving pension benefits, or I'm not able to contribute to a 401k plan where the company gets to match me as a woman. And when I've done workshops for women in investing or women in retirement or financial independence, this concept, this theme continues to hold, truth. So if you reflect and think, if something's going to happen, who would I turn to? Very often it's my daughter, or maybe even a daughter-in-law, to be of help and to love and nurture and provide care. So long-term care is and should be part of your retirement planning. 9 out of 10 Americans believe that a person like me should take the lead in discussing long-term care with their clients. And sometimes the human being is not willing to confront, not willing to discuss, or kind of maybe taking a blind eye that, okay, it's not going to happen to me. So when I shared this with Sharon and Judy about this workshop and program, they said it's a great idea and it's something we should do as a benefit to you, I, as alumni. So I've actually been invited to barbecues, to lunches, to help stimulate the conversation objectively. Sometimes we're discussing actual money, and very often we're not, and we're just talking about concepts, and we're talking about being authentic, loving, and being able to have everyone in the family understand the objectives. I also get to explain things like, when mom and dad pass an inheritance on to you as an individual, as long as you leave that money in your name, in your account, it's your money because it's a gift from your mom and dad or aunt and uncle. When you take the money and you put it into a joint account with your significant other partner, it's now half theirs. So I advise, when I have these family meetings, to follow mom and dad's request to have the money go directly into your name as a gift and inheritance, and then ultimately have this money passed on to their grandchildren, your children. Today, my daughter-in-law likes me today, and tomorrow she doesn't. So a lot of the work, an advisor, I can't speak for others, I help, my commitment on my email is to help people protect and preserve their wealth and avoid making financial mistakes. So there's very simple methods of being able to do this. And knowledge is power. So you just need to continue to educate yourselves, participating in these types of webinars to help your personal retirement financial plan and estate plan, and just ultimately protecting yourself. So helping to facilitate the discussion with families, exploring choices for long-term care planning, directing you to health-related legal documents that you will need to prepare or update, such as a living will, advance directive, a healthcare proxy, power of attorney. So very often, I just want to stop and start a new conversation. So, I always, talk about myself, because I'm being authentic. So I have a 22-year-old daughter, and the day she turned 18, I needed to have her sign a living will and a power of attorney. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this program and you have children that are age 18 or will be, college students, etc., under the HIPAA health law, HIPAA regulation, this 18-year-old is an adult. And legally, a doctor does not have to tell you, the parent, even though you're paying the bills, what the medical situation is of this child. So I highly recommend that if your child goes to Michigan, then we have a living will power of attorney in that state, along with, should you live in New Jersey, a New Jersey living will and a power of attorney in New Jersey, so that you have the resources, you have signed documents, because I know you and I are going to get to our children as soon as possible, but we sure want to know what's going on right now, and we want to be able to help make decisions right now for the benefit of this child if this child can't talk and tell me what is going on. And very often I find, and by the way, folks, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, and there's actually free website where you can actually obtain these legal documents to have in your financial portfolio, in your legal portfolio for you and your children. And Sharon, I can send it to you later and you can distribute out to everyone if you want. But this is so important, and very often, you know, folks, we all have advisors, investment, financial, insurance, legal, accounting. And frankly, what my experience is they've done hopefully great work, but they've done it in silos. They've done the insurance, or they've done the investments, or they did the legal or accounting as a silo. And you really don't have anybody coming from a place of a 10,000-foot overview, looking at the coordination, or more specifically, a lack of coordination in your financial plan. So I would say that's my unicorn. That's my differentiator in looking at the coordination of these silos from a 10,000-foot overview. And I just think it's so important. You know, it's so interesting when I meet with people, I say, you know, when's the last time you had all your advisors sit in one room talking about you? The first comment is they say never. The second comment is that would be one expensive meeting. So I bring a certain skill set to the table with regards to reviewing your and comprehensive retirement estate financial plan. And today's focus is in this long-term care gap. And then you need to review your plan to make sure it's updated and in track. So there's different types of solutions. One, you can self-insure. I met a prospect recently via a referral. He owned a piece of real estate worth $1 million. He said, well, if I need long-term care, I'm going to sell that building and I'm going to use the cash proceeds from that building. I said, great. And that was his answer to self-funding. I ultimately brought to his attention some other choices, and he did realize it may be more economical, more efficient, less expensive to actually purchase an insurance program as opposed to the self-insurance aspect. And he will be getting back to me. The second is annuities. So this is kind of, you know, knowledge is power, guys. So I've learned a lot since I specialize in this space. If you have annuities, and you might not even be touching the monies, or you don't need the income from these contracts, believe it or not, there is certain types of annuities that have a rider, which lets me put a rider on this contract, a new contract, because they're more modern, that can create maybe 2 or 3 times, definitely 2, maybe even 3 times the amount of money that it's worth to be available for long-term care. And if properly managed and owned, it can be tax-free when used for assistance and long-term care needs. So very often, human beings, prospects own annuities. They're not aware of the tax implication, which let me explain. So for example, you put in $100,000 into an annuity, it grows tax deferred, and let's say today it's worth $150,000. The law says when I take money out of that annuity contract, because you had the deferral for those years, you have to take out the earnings first and pay ordinary income tax. So in my example, you put in 100, you already paid tax on that 100, it's now worth 150. When you take $10,000 out, that $10,000 is fully income taxable. And when you exhaust $50,000 of that contract, you're now dipping into your 100, which has already been taxed, so then you don't have to pay tax on it. So wouldn't it be appropriate to look at determining if I should own this annuity with a rider, which says if I need money for long-term care and I take it from an annuity with this rider, it all comes out tax-free to you to pay for the assistance of hiring a caregiver or need for assisting living. So make a note if you want to discuss the annuities with me, it's fine. Life insurance. So, life insurance benefits my estate. It doesn't benefit me. I own a policy, I die, my spouse, my family, my kids, my estate gets the benefits, the proceeds. There are riders on these life insurance policies that can spring into a long-term care program that can be a bucket of money to help pay the caregiver, help pay for assisted living, and be able to have the insurance policy pay for our financial long-term care needs. And then you have another program that insurance companies have come out with, which is this life insurance long-term care combination product. So I personally actually own one of those. So what I own is $1 million indexed universal life product, which means I make a premium payment, the cash goes into a S&P 500 type of investment account. That's my cash value. This is permanent insurance, not term. And about 5 years ago, I had a long-term care traditional product, which is the number 5, that last one on the right, which I'll go over in a second. And I was spending $4,500 a year for that policy. And when these new products came out, I canceled that traditional long-term care insurance that I was paying $4,500 for. And I bought $1 million life insurance policy because I want my kids to receive $1 million in the event of my death, which means I could spend all my other money knowing upon my death, $1 million is going to replace whatever other assets I have that I was spending while I was living. Except this long-term care rider, I'm now paying $1,500 for on an annual basis, as opposed to $4,500 on an annual basis. So what this policy does for me, it provides $1 million of death benefit upon my demise to my estate if I actually satisfy 2 of 6 activities for daily living and I need assistance for long-term care, I'm able to stop paying the premium, and the premium is $15,000 a year for $1 million of coverage, which included that $1,500. There's a waiver of premium, so the day I satisfy 2 of 6, I stop paying the premium, and I'm now able to tap into 2% of the death benefit, or $10,000 a month tax-free for my long-term care needs. So if I live and I need this long-term care assistance for, say, $400,000 worth, and there's $600,000 left in my death benefit. Upon my death, my kids are going to get $600,000, and I was using 400 of the million to help fund my long-term care need and being able to hire someone to give me the dignity and respect that I desire and to be taken care of, which, folks, I think is a no-brainer. I also view that product as a decreasing term insurance contract, because as I'm accumulating cash in that program, the cost of the death benefit is decreasing, meaning I bought $1 million of coverage. Thank God I'm alive, I'm living, I'm paying the premium. Say there's cash value in that contract of $100,000. Well, the truth is, if the 100's mine, that means I'm only buying $900,000 of death benefit. So I just think it's a very efficient, effective method in the context of, quote, end of financial life planning. Meaning, I took a piece of my money on an annual basis to protect 2 things. The first item is, I die, there's a death benefit. The second is, if I'm in need of long-term care, I also protected that. So if I put this money away and I die, well, my estate gets $1 million. And if or when I need long-term care assistance, I created a pool of money. I created $1 million of tax-free cash that can help pay for my long-term care need. The last item here is called, and guys, I apologize. I know it's confusing. I really do. I apologize. It's overwhelming. I'm truly sorry. I'm doing the best I can in speaking this subject in this manner. Certainly when I'm face to face with someone and I'm able to show specifics and tailor these programs to their needs, it sure makes it a lot easier to A, speak to it, and B, comprehend it, because you're now having something tailored to your needs. So just wanted to be straight about that. Traditional long-term care insurance, frankly, what I call that is like term insurance. So I buy a policy, I pay the premium. If I satisfy the 2 of 6, the long-term care, opens up into a $250,000 or $400,000 pool of money to help pay for my care needs. Unfortunately, they have been underpricing, not properly pricing the product, and insurance companies have been going back to the state and asking for the ability to raise rates. I also think it's very important to add an inflation rider. So if I buy a $5,000 a month benefit, or $200 a day, a $6,000 month benefit, you want that $6,000 to be $6,000 in 15 or 20 years from now. So you want to put something called an inflation rider on these contracts. If you're married, I'm now going to speak to a married couple. There is a product on the market right now, which it's called a survivorship life insurance long-term care product, which is, I'm not buying it for this death benefit. I'm really buying it for the long-term care. But let's say it's both on you and your spouse. It's got a death benefit of $250, and you put a rider on there for the long-term care, and it's so rich and it's so good, in my opinion, that the insurance company is actually taking the product off the market in the coming months. And I haven't gotten the specific date yet. So folks, I've been around the block, as have you. When an insurance company is taking a product off the market, that means it's like too good for you and not good for them as a, quote, profit center. And I've been sharing and speaking about this product almost every day to see if it fits and can be tailored to a prospect's needs, if applicable. So there's many positives to being married, and frankly, this is another one of them, to have it be efficient and more cost effective. Hybrids. So the definition is there's a death benefit protection with a living benefit. For people interested, the financial protection of a death benefit and added protection from long-term care expenses. And then the considerations, the death benefit may be reduced if the rider's exercised, which is exactly what I just had said. I really think it's a no-brainer, to be very candid with you. This is an example. I just happened to grab, Lincoln Financial has a MoneyGuard product. I'm just going to speak to it. There's tax advantage reimbursements for qualified long-term care expense, and it's worth much more than what your premium payments were. The death benefit or return of premium if you don't use the long-term care coverage or protection. As far as payments, there's all sorts of flexibility as far as you want to pay this for one lump sum, you want to do it over 10 years, or how you want to design and tailor this in your financial plan. I want to say something that's imperative. I frankly, and I'm speaking to you selfishly, I honestly do not want you to take money out of your paycheck, to take money out of your disposable income to purchase long-term care coverage. And the reason why I'm saying that is you're protecting your net worth. You're not necessarily protecting your income. So if you got a net worth of $500 or $1 million, the premium to buy this protection to fill the gap of your financial retirement estate plan should come from your net worth. So by taking some sort of a percentage from your net worth, you know, I'm sitting at my desk and I just took my right hand and I raised it over my desk, and, you know, say there's $1 million on my desk. All I want to do is take some of that $1 million on an annual basis, like some of it, maybe even some of the earnings, and just reposition it so that it's now in front of my left hand. But if this repositioning of a percentage of the earnings of this $1 million of net worth is able to create a pool of money that can actually either A, be a reimbursement to the estate so that the estate gets its money back, or it springs into a 2, 3, or 4 time multiple to create a pool of money for the long-term care need. Well, in my book, that is an absolute no-brainer. And that's 34 years in this business. There's a lot of resources out in the world when it comes to this long-term care information. And if you want to go to my blog, I recently wrote a piece there, or we can send it out, Sharon, to your attendees. It is a complex subject. I think money, I think financial, retirement, estate planning is a complex subject, and I actually have empathy for you, because it's all these pieces of the puzzle that have to come together to create some sort of synergy, coordination, so that ultimately, selfishly, you're protected. And for that, I say to you, I have the empathy to put together these pieces of the puzzle. The third item here, activities for daily living. Remember those 6 areas: bathing, continence, dressing, eating, toileting, and transferring. And then there's also that, cognitive ability, should dementia or Alzheimer's come into place. Let's keep going. So again, I'm talking some generic here. I'm just using this as a tool. The benefits: if you need the long-term care, you have income tax-free disbursement of monies for qualified long-term care expenses. And you ultimately are getting the money for the long-term care as it's needed. And again, or the death benefit, if you don't need it, there's a life insurance death benefit that actually replaces the monies you put into it. And sometimes it's, certainly plus that you get to provide to your estate. So you're kind of, killing 2 or 3 birds with $1. And then we could always put this return of premium on this policy, that you could pay for this, a rider which says, you know what, if I don't want this in the next 2-3 years, or I cancel it, I actually can get my money back. So there's all these different choices and options. And the real question is what's best for you? Like, how do we tailor an insurance program that best meets your needs? And what I find often is, human beings go out and try to do this on their own, and they're taking something off the shelf, be it life insurance or even using managed money as an investment platform. I use Vanguard. I use inexpensive ETFs for my managed money side of the business for wealth management. And the real key, I can't stress this enough, is tailoring either your insurance or your investment program so that it meets your needs. And it shouldn't be, cookie cutter, off the shelf. Okay, I'll take that. It should be tailored to your needs. And what's also interesting, and I'm being straight about this, I say this to people when I meet with them, products, insurance, managed money, investments, they're commodities, folks. They're commodities. So the real question, what makes this product, this commodity, appropriate and tailored to meet your needs? And frankly, these products, insurance, investment, managed money products, they're the glue to your financial plan. That's what's so. It's these products, they're the glue to your financial plan. So let's just use this man, age 45. He had a number of different priorities. So he purchased a 20-pay, $100,000 product. The duration of long-term care benefit was 4 years, using 2 of these riders. He added a 5% compound inflation protection rider, which was additional cost, which I certainly recommend, folks, because you want your $5,000–6,000 a month today to be worth $6,000 a month in 20–30 years from now. We complete the payments to age 65, and we put return a premium option on there, so that if he wanted to cancel it in 3 years, he's getting 80% of his money back. Yearly and monthly maximum was $243,000 of a death benefit, or providing $20,000 a month of care. The policy over 35 years grew. The benefit is now worth $1 million, spread out over 4 years, increasing at that 5% inflation rate. And this was a program that fit this particular man's needs, this family's needs. Here's a female, age 50, planning for her retirement with a goal to fund assisted living near her hometown. So she paid a 15-year program of about $150,000 for a 6-year benefit, 3% inflation compound, and the annual premium was $9,600, or a total of $144,000. Completed the payment at age 65. Again, she chose this rider to give her 80% of a benefit base. And the yearly and monthly maximum, $165,000 of coverage, or $13,000 and change available per month. Total benefits of $1 million. So she created a bucket of money of $1 million for her needs. I could keep going. This is a married couple. In conclusion, and we'll take some questions, everyone needs to plan, hopefully before care is needed. I didn't go into the legal aspect of elder law planning and making gifts and having it satisfy the 5-year rule, which I am versed in, and I do have conversations with, when and if applicable, with you, your family, which is part of the conversation we have. I do suggest you start the conversation. I do suggest you turn to an advisor that specializes and understands this information, and independent. I am a fiduciary, and I am independent, representing the consumer. There's different products, hybrids, long-term care solutions that offer benefits so that we can tailor them to satisfy your needs. And an early start helps to improve affordability and builds benefits. Let's take some questions. And I'm open to your thoughts. If you ever want to email me at simonsays@lfg.com. I've offered my book via Kindle, Love Your Legacy. I've offered my blog. Go to my website, saulsimon.com. There's all sorts of cool resources and tools there. And you're invited to call, and we could set up a time to speak and tailor something for you. Sharon,
Okay.
take over.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to say that a lot of people have been saying that this is really pertinent to their information right now, things they're going through with their parents. A lot of people are saying that. So with that, you had some handouts you're going to send me. If you could do that, that would be wonderful, that I can send to everybody.
Okay.
And also, I don't know if you would be available to let us have a copy of your PowerPoint. I don't know if you can do that, but if you could, that would be helpful to many people here. So
Yep.
we'll see. Now, I have a question here from somebody, and it's a little specific, but if it's okay, may I ask it? This is one of these situations. This is a 42-year-old woman. She has a $1 million life insurance policy that is mixed whole, term, 75-25 split with 75,000 LTC benefit. She's had the policy for the past 11 years, but 4 years ago, she added the LTC component and wants to know if this policy would suffice for me and for her and her family. I'm sorry. So 42 years old, added the 75.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what her needs are. I would want to look at the policy. It's 11 years old. This is, again, education, folks. We're living longer, so the cost of insurance is actually going down, which means I might be able to get that $1 million policy for 30% less than what she's paying now. So if she feels $75,000 and I don't know even what rider she has on there. I mean, I understand what she's got, 75-25, and the dividends are helping to reduce and buy the term life insurance. I would have to see the policy. I don't know if there's inflation on it. I'm sorry, I can't generically say it's good.
Okay.
I'm happy you have it. I'll tell you that. I'm happy that you have that, because it's good that you have something. I'm happy to hear that, but I don't know if it's perfect for you. I'm sorry. I need to talk to you more.
Well, this person who wrote in, and anybody else too, if you do have questions, you can call Saul. Oh, better call Saul. And
Yeah.
so
Cool.
when I send out all this information, I'm going to send you Saul's email, right? Email, and his phone number and the information that he said. I think people are coming with more personal questions, so I think I'm not going to say them now since we only have like 4 more minutes. But people are still asking if you can provide these slides to them. So I think the information was really helpful to everybody. So, one person has a question.
Good.
One of the slides.
That's what I'm here for.
If you can go back just to the slides, one of the slides with that you just showed, the last ones, someone said if you could just explain a little bit, maybe do this one. So they wanted you to explain a little bit more about this, or him, they don't care. Yeah. So when he purchased that, they want to know like how long they're purchasing for, what the payment is, things like that. If you can explain a little more.
Yeah, so in this example, he paid $5,000 a year or $100,000 over 20 years, and at the age, and he completed the payments at age 65. Annual premium years 1 through 25,000, 100,000 total. Completed that at age 65. And the truth is, when we need this type of protection, it's probably going to be around the age of 78 to 80-ish. So all of a sudden, this policy's grown, and it's now going to provide this gentleman $20,000 a month or $243,000 a year, spread out over 4 years, which is approximately $1 million of money that he's funded, he put away to create a pool of money for his family or his estate in the event of needing this protection.
Okay. Oh, and then
so I'll send off.
I'm sorry. Someone said if you don't need this and you do this, what happens then? Or that was someone just asked that.
Yeah. So there's actually a death benefit, and clearly the person's getting his money back plus some. So, like I said before, it's a replacement. So if I put money from my net worth, some of my earnings, and I'm able to, upon my death, get my money back plus something, it was a prudent, wise financial product in my financial plan to either get my money back plus something, or provide for my long-term care needs if and when I need long-term care assistance.
Okay, thank you. Just so you know, the person who I mentioned before with the policy said that she has 3% inflation and she thinks she has a rider and she's paying $270 a month, if that helps you out with anything. And another person is asking about being on a very tight budget. Are there more affordable options?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. I mean, instead of buying, $10,000, you can buy $5,000.
Okay.
It's designing a plan that helps an individual meet and fill the gap of long-term care needs.
Okay.
I met a woman 2 weeks ago, a referral, and she happened to have 2 annuities, and she's not touching them. She doesn't need them. And I think the monies are earning like 1.5% because she has them in like some fixed contract. And I kind of got upset because it's earning nothing. I mean, I've got clients earning 2% in a money market account just as safe. So I'm going to bring that to her attention, that we can use those annuities to create, almost a triple. So instead of it being worth 100, it can be worth 300,000 if she needs long-term care. And she's not doing anything except using what she has, except making it better for her financial plan, coincidentally. So I don't know what this woman has. I don't know what anybody has. So what you need to do, and I'm sorry, folks, I know you want all your individual questions answered, but I'm a doctor. I need to ask a lot of questions and find out what it is you're doing, what it is you're trying to do, what are your resources, what are your concerns, what are your issues, and then come up with a plan to tailor it. And there's different choices. It's not just one answer.
Well, that's what we need. So,
Not just one answer.
well, so everyone, when you get off the when the webinar ends, you're going to get a little survey. If you do have a few more questions, you can type them in there. We left a space. Other than that, I'm going to send you Saul's contact information, some information that he's going to provide to me, that you will get with the handouts and things like that. And really feel free to reach out, and he'll be happy to speak with you. So there was a lot of information covered. Saul, thank you so much again for doing this. It was really good. People really enjoyed it. So thank you all. Thank you, Saul. And thank you all for attending. So we're going to,
Can
yes,
I say one more thing, please,
absolutely.
folks? If you're getting value out of these benefits that William Patterson provides as far as his webinars, on September 17th, the foundation is putting together a Gifting for Good workshop. We'd love you to hold the date, mark the calendar, maybe think of William Patterson either on an annual basis to make some sort of contribution, just as a saying, hey, thank you for the value that we're receiving from these webinars, and it's a tax deduction. In addition, maybe even think about leaving William Patterson in your will. So it's called Gifting for Good Workshop, September 17th. And Sharon, thanks for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from people if they have any comments or questions.
Thank you, Saul. And Saul will be at that seminar, so just so you know, but I'll send you the information about that as well. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you again soon. Thanks. Take care, everyone.